LED lights from John Deere. They're the closest things to sunlight. When compared to sealed halogen lights, LED lights use far less power, have several times the life, and provide less eye strain. And they're made to fit your John Deere tractor. Trust parts meant for the work you do every day. Genuine John Deere parts. Available at your John Deere dealer.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. One of the news stories that came out of 2015, and I don't know if it was just news to me or news to the world, was that jellyfish don't age. And in fact, sometimes they reverse their aging. Remember that story?
Yeah, I do. That's
jellyfish.
fascinating.
Remember that?
Stuff.
And I've always said, like, okay, we have a lot of lizards here that, you know, if you pick up a lizard and by the tail, everybody knows it'll release itself, the tail will fall off, and the tail will regrow.
Yeah.
And I've often said, well, why can't we figure out how that happens and regrow limbs of our own? And of course, we haven't figured that out yet, but maybe we're close to it with all this stem cell technology, et cetera. Now I'm reading in this book, this new book that we're going to talk about, The Lucky Years, written by our guest, Dr. David B. Agus, that there was an experiment the year I was born, 1955, if I understood this right, where two rats, an old one and a young one, were stitched together, kind of like Siamese, with open skin, so that they would be sharing blood and everything else. And the older one got younger. The older one got younger. I think it was challenged. I don't know that every scientist believed the results that were published. But we're going to find out about this. This is an interesting topic. Dr. David B. Agus is on the phone. He's a professor of medicine and engineering at the University of Southern California. He's one of the world's leading physicians and pioneering biomedical researchers. He is a CBS News contributor, so we're very honored to have him on our little show. A New York Times best-selling author of the book again, The Lucky Years, How to Thrive in the Brave New World of Health. Good morning, Dr. Agus.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Where are you right now?
Toronto, Canada, freezing my ears off.
We don't have a 7-second button, so thank you for saying ears. Yeah, this is a fascinating. So did that study that's in the very first page of your book, did that turn out to be true? Did that really happen?
Listen, it's the greatest story. Wanda Ruth Lunsford was kicked out of science and called Dracula and called Frankenstein, these horrible names. Well, earlier, 2015, 3 separate laboratories, one at Harvard, one at University of California, San Francisco, and one at Stanford, repeated the experiment, and it worked. And what they showed is that at age 25, yours and mine stem cells, they go to sleep. And there are proteins now that can turn them back on. And so basically the cure for many diseases or ailments is actually asleep within us. So you can imagine one day in the near future when you're in your 70s, your 80s, and you fall and you break your hip, we give you these proteins so you can heal like a child heals their bones. If you have brain decline, we can give you these and you can get new neurons. So it really does bring potential. And the reason I wrote The Lucky Years is to talk about these amazing findings, but also to push people to focus on prevention now and getting ready to benefit.
Okay. And what are the things that you would be giving people?
Well, they're going to identify the individual proteins that wake up these stem cells that go to sleep.
Okay, so the stem cells are there. I guess that's the point I needed to have said twice. So
our stem cells are there. They just go to sleep at 25. Remember, in evolution, after about 30 or 35, they didn't need us anymore. We had our children. We just used food, and we used their housing, etc. So it wasn't good for us. An amazing study also came out this year in elephants. Turns out elephants are 40 times bigger than you or I, yet they don't get cancer. And elephants have children into their late 60s. And the male of the herd actually protects the herd until the day he dies. So elephants evolved a way not to get cancer because they had to live till the end without any infirmities, very different than us evolutionarily. And we identified there's a gene called P53. It's called the guardian of the genome. You and I have 1 copy. Elephants have 20. And it corrects errors in DNA so they don't get cancer.
Really? Oh, my goodness. That is awesome. In nature, you would think nothing would... an elephant should be just protected by its sheer size. But I guess they're prey to something else, aren't they?
Guns.
Yeah, especially the weaker ones. I mean, the problem is the children, for the first couple of years, they're easily prey for some of the bigger animals.
Okay, so just let's go back to stem cells just for a second, because we know a guy who had stem cells put into his kneecap. Am I right, Robin?
Yes.
And
yeah.
and it was a miraculous healing.
So it's a little bit different. And so in that case, what they do is they take your own stem cells out of your body, and they're approximately stem cells. They're not actual stem cells, and they inject them. Whenever you inject cells into a joint, it causes inflammation, which actually accelerates some healing. So it's not actually the stem cells repopulating the joint. It's that inflammation accelerating the healing. And what we know is that it's good in the short term but bad in the long term, those kind of procedures. So the great athletes of the world, Kobe Bryant, have that done on their shoulder or their knee because they need to get back to playing quickly. They're going to have troubles later on from that.
So when we look at animals, I've often wondered, okay, my dog got old and she was 15 years old, and she looked the equivalent of an old lady, okay, and then she died. 15. How come how come that species ages so quickly? I mean, a turtle, I guess, ages real slowly compared to us.
It's an amazing thing. There's a switch, right? Mice get cancer at age 2. Dogs die of cancer, anywhere from age 8 to age, 12 or 13. Humans die of cancer, in the 60s to 70s. There seems to be a switch. Cancer in children, for example, is over 90% curable. And once you turn 25, those same cancers are incurable. So it's one of the things we're starting to figure out is that this kind of programmed aging or programmed death, in a sense. And remember, evolution selects out for who has good children, not for who lives to 100. And so I think, when we do want to live into our 9th or 10th decade and have quality years, we need to tweak a little to get there.
Okay, so and does the book help us tweak? I mean, do we learn from the book?
It's not going to help you grow that tail you want. And I apologize on that one.
Can't swing from the trees like the monkeys,
I firmly
right?
apologize that I just don't have that technology. But yes, the book really is talking about some of these remarkable new things, and I'm sure we'll talk about, and at the same time, really pushing all of us for that tweaking today to get there.
You talk about the importance of sleep. I mean, a lot of people talk about that, but it doesn't really hit home until I read your book.
Well, sleep is, we need that recharging time. A wild study came out of Europe where they looked at how close you live to an airport. The closer you live, the quicker the rate of brain decline as you got older.
Why?
Really telling us that our brain needs quiet at night.
Oh, really?
And so I've got a 150-pound dog that snores, and I can't keep her out of the bedroom. So she's tougher than me. So I wear those, orange foam earplugs every night, and I get my quiet time. So we have to build that in there. What we know about sleep, and one of the most important things, is not just how much, but it's when. So regularity is key. Our body strives for regularity. They said to 600 parents, have your kids go to bed whenever they want. Here's a stopwatch. Wake them up 9.5 hours later. They said to another 600, how did your kids go to bed the same time every night, wake up in 9.5 hours? So the same amount of sleep in both arms, one regular and one whenever they wanted. And there's almost a 20% improvement in thinking and cognitive function in the kids that went to bed the same time and got up the same time. That's good to great right there.
Oh, that is
Wow.
good. So would that apply to a 61-year-old man?
Even more so. I mean, that's the problem. Kids are, as you know, are resilient. Knock them down, they bounce back up.
Yeah.
We're not as resilient, so it's even more so to us. I mean, you know what it's like. When you set your alarm for 6 a.m., at 5:59, you wake up on your own all the time. Your body's ready, right? Your body has that schedule built in, and we need to respect it.
So let me ask you kind of a dumb question, I think. If I went to the emergency room and I was seriously injured, and they rushed me in and I needed 5 units of blood, which is, I don't know, I guess 1 unit less than I have in my body, and all the blood they gave me was donated by a high school kid, would I feel younger?
Because the problem is when they do blood, they take the plasma out, the proteins out, so all you're getting are the red cells.
Oh, okay.
So if you got plasma transfusions, which are the proteins of blood, over time you would. But we think. I mean, again, we've cured a lot of diseases, I should say, in mice and rats that haven't worked in humans. So this is staggering data. The clinical trials are ongoing now in patients, and they're encouraging, but we don't know that answer yet. But it's not the blood cells, it's the plasma.
Because people now are looking constantly at computer screens, whether they're on your phone or in your car or on one of those Fitbits or something. Is that producing different problems for the medical field?
I think it's producing problems not necessarily for the medical people, but for us. I mean, as individuals, is those screens, whether it be a TV or a computer or a smartphone, have blue light in them, and that blue light makes the brain think it's daytime. So if you do that at night before you go to bed, you may fall asleep, but it's not going to be as deep a sleep because your brain's clock said, "Hey, listen, I just saw sunlight. Something's wrong
Really?
here."
Oh, wow.
And so you can actually, for very inexpensively, buy online glasses that were actually developed for gamers that filter out this light. They're yellow lens glasses. The gamers of the world that play computer games all day wanted to not be tired and focus on a screen, so they made these glasses. And those glasses allow you, listen, I like to watch some TV before I go to bed. I wear these now. I actually sleep a lot better.
Really?
Yeah.
So in looking at the research that the book is based on, did you have any stories of anybody who has been using some of the ideas in here for a prolonged period of time? And were you able to witness people reversing disease or looking younger, getting wrinkles?
Well, I mean, one of the great stories that I'm sure you all will know is there's a remarkable 92-year-old gentleman named Jimmy Carter, President Carter. So President Carter recently was diagnosed with melanoma or skin cancer metastatic to the brain.
Right.
And just several years ago, this was a death sentence.
Right.
All cancer cells have on their surface a don't eat me signal, so the immune system doesn't touch them. In President Carter's case, he was given a drug that's now FDA approved that blocked that don't eat me signal, allowing his immune system to be control of his cancer. So going from a death sentence to a life sentence with this cancer.
And it was very quick too. The news that he was cured came out it felt like a week after we found out that he had it.
Well, it was several months. I think time flew.
Okay.
And I'm not sure he's cured. He's under control. Cure is a word we just don't like to use in the cancer business. Under control, living with cancer, because you never know, and there's nothing. If there's an extra cell there, that will come back. So my goal is to make people live with cancer, almost a chronic disease like diabetes, rather than die from cancer.
Oh my!
I see the makings of somebody's science fiction book of the rich guy who decides to graft himself onto a young person, and get young. I don't know.
I think what's exciting to me about the Lucky Years, the book we wrote, is that almost all of the technologies in here are for everybody. It's not meant for the rich and famous and wealthy. Everything here is really accessible. I think medicine is changing. It's going from an era where you went to your doctor and they drew your blood, checked your blood pressure, collected data, and then called you a few days later, to you are empowered to collect your own data. And then you go to your doctor and you actually have a discussion, a shocking thing, sitting down and talking.
Mm-hmm. This gene P53 that you're talking about, has there been studies from patients who have had dementia? Are you able to try to make them better?
Well, P53 is the gene we talked about for cancer.
Oh,
so
okay.
It protects the genome from cancer. And what we know is that almost all human cancers have this gene changed, altered.
Mm-hmm.
The studies using the plasma for dementia are ongoing now. So there are clinical trials ongoing now, and the same thing for the fractures in the elderly. Those trials are ongoing now. So over the next 6 to 12 months, we'll have the results of those, and they're going on around the country, so very encouraging.
Oh, wonderful.
We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back. This is another fascinating conversation. Dr. David B. Agus is in a hotel somewhere in Toronto. In room 500, I know that. And we're going to continue the conversation about his book, The Lucky Years. This is fascinating stuff. We'll take that break and be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be mostly cloudy Thursday with a high in the 60s to near 70. Cloudy Thursday night with some rain late, lows ranging from the mid-50s inland to the low 60s on the coast. Friday rather cloudy and becoming windy with periods of rain and a thunderstorm in the morning, and a brief shower or two in the afternoon, the high 72 to 76. Saturday mostly sunny, high 72 to 76. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Have you ever seen a jet ski act or a dinosaur under a circus tent? Well, Cirque Italia, the water circus, is coming back from Italy with a brand new production featuring performers from around the world. Cirque Italia will be at the main livestock pavilion in Ocala January 21st through 24th. They have created a brand new show with contortion, a mermaid, and more. Plus, they're offering a special discount for our listeners. At the circus, you can get one free child's ticket with the purchase of an adult ticket if you say circus. So bring the family. Visit CirqueItalia.com for tickets and more information.
Stay informed on everything going on in the villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
All right, 21 minutes after 11 o'clock, Dr. David Agus is on the phone. His book is called The Lucky Years, How to Thrive in the Brave New World of Health. Doctor, I want to ask you something. I have refused to do an interview or two in my life because I felt like the audience has come to trust me, and I didn't want to appear that I was supporting or endorsing somebody I didn't think was telling us the truth. An example would be a guy who had, and I've told this story before, but not to you, a guy who had for sale an oil that he said if you put it in your bathtub, it'll cure Alzheimer's. Robin brought up Alzheimer's. I didn't believe him, so I didn't go on the air with him. And so, but it sounds like maybe with what you're saying, there might be hope for those people. And so I want to extend to that and just ask you to comment on it. Is it possible that we'll find a cure, if you will, for genetic deformities, like somebody with Down syndrome or cerebral palsy and that kind of stuff, or muscular dystrophy, those kind of things?
You know, earlier this year it was announced there's a particular new discovery called CRISPR, C-R-I-S-P-R. And what that is, it's an enzyme that allows you to change one code, one letter of the 3 billion letters in our human genome. Science magazine named it Molecule of the Year, which I know all of us were on the edge of our seats waiting to see who would be Molecule of the Year. And what it allows us to do is to change. So earlier this year in China, for example, they actually changed a human embryo. While that's scary and there's ethical and moral and legal repercussions from it that need to be discussed, the technology is evolving. They created mosquitoes that are malaria resistant that may, in the end, in the long run, go to Africa and hopefully have a major impact on diseases like that. And so diseases that are genetic and inherited, we may be able to correct them. Probably not in people that have them today, but definitely preventing them from happening in the next generation.
So that sounds like an embryo, an unborn child.
An unborn child.
Okay.
And it allows people who before couldn't have children to have children.
Oh, really?
You know, so when Angelina Jolie and others are heroes and say, I have this genetic defect that leads to a certain cancer, we can, over time, correct them. And I think that's going to be very exciting in science.
So the baby that they changed in, where was it, Japan, China?
China.
When they did that, what was the change?
Well, there were some equivalent to muscular dystrophy, some of those syndromes. They were able to change that gene to make it normal again.
Oh, okay. So they fixed a baby. A baby was spared from having to live a whole life like that. Oh, gosh, wow.
Right. And so I think the challenge going forward is obviously to do this correctly, follow the outcome. You know, the body, what I've learned is a system. It's not just, one piece to fix. Once you change one thing, a lot of things change. Mm-hmm. If you're going to drive from New York to Boston and you take apart a car and look at every piece of the car, it doesn't tell you how long it takes to get there. You forgot to look at the traffic, the weather, how much caffeine the driver drank, the bladder size of the driver. Well, in my field, in science, all too often we just look at the car and not anything else.
Sometimes people want to take the easy way out. They want to go on diets, but they don't want to exercise. Is this what medicine is coming to now? They can maybe manufacture a pill, and then a person can take a pill, lose weight, and lose that fat and everything without having to tone up your muscles and exercise?
So certainly there are some drugs that can help build muscle or decrease appetite. Again, they have other effects in the body. Where I think the real excitement is another area that's similar, is that the first studies came out on artificial sweeteners this year in one of the best medical journals. When they came out, they were the best, the great perfect food. They hit our sweet tooth, yet they weren't absorbed, so there were 0 calories, so everybody loved them. So they took 20-year-olds and they gave them these artificial sweeteners, and after a few weeks, every single one of them had markers of prediabetes or diabetes. They said, hey, that's interesting. And then they gave them antibiotics, followed by the artificial sweeteners, and no diabetes. So what the artificial sweeteners did is they changed the bacteria in our GI tract to push our system to diabetes. You have 10-fold more bacteria in you than human cells in you. There's 10-fold more bacterial DNA in you than human DNA. And what's interesting is that if you take bacteria from a fat human and put them into a skinny mouse, the mouse gains body mass very quickly, and the inverse is true also. So a major component to obesity and diabetes are these bacteria, which over the next several years we're going to start to change. It won't replace movement and exercise. Remember, our bodies were designed to move. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest things we can do for our health is movement, and we have to do that. There's no pill for that. But in the long run, it may help some of these other maladies.
There was an ad the other day, and I heard comedians making fun of it, and I'll tell you what their joke was, and you may have heard it, but it was basically the theory that a pill made from the bacteria of a thin person ingested by a fat person will help that fat person lose weight.
It's true.
And the pill looked harmless to me, but the comedians were saying, so in other words, we're eating somebody else's poop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well,
yes and no?
Poop is a strong word. It's a component of it. Certainly there's bacteria in GI. When you have yogurt, there are bacteria in there too. Yogurt isn't eating somebody's poop per se.
Okay.
But I think going forward what we're going to do is we're going to put the particular bacteria into a form of yogurt or however else we ingest it that will help us push the right direction.
Before we wrap up, I want to make sure the listeners know, is the book informative in the aspect of educating us, and is it also usable? Like, can I say, okay, from this point forward, I'm going to do this in order to reverse illness, or to reverse obesity, or to reverse aging, even?
It's a great question. I wrote the book, so that everybody could benefit, and to be able to really get this out there to educate. The book starts off with a 2-week challenge. And so it starts to go for you to look at yourself and start to gather the data. It tells everybody exactly what to do, and then based on the results, how to move forward. There's a simple test. I want you to sit on the floor cross-legged and try to get up with no hands or one hand. If you can do that, you're in the top 25% of musculoskeletal strength, and you'll actually live longer.
Wow.
I don't think I can do that.
I got to try that.
I know we've got a minute and a half left, but can you comment real quickly on pH? Is there anything that we need to know about balancing our pH, having more
it's
alkaline?
poppycock.
Oh, that's poppycock. Okay.
Your pH is 7.4. If you breathe more, it goes up. If you breathe less, it goes down. So your body regulates it by how fast you breathe, because that's the CO2 coming in and out.
Oh, that's it, huh? That's the whole thing?
And so there's all these notions, well, you eat this, it changes your pH. That's all made up, unfortunately. It's not real science.
Well, and again...
Your body, if you were higher than 7.4 or lower than 7.4, you wouldn't be alive, is the problem.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, gosh. Well, and I started off at one point in this conversation telling you that I have refused to do some interviews, but I have done interviews with people who've said that because it sounded believable. Mm-hmm. So for the listeners, just trust me, I don't know a thing. I don't know. I do have a copy of the book, though, The Lucky Years. David Agus is the author, Dr. David Agus. Call me if you want the one copy that was sent to us. You are welcome to it. The rest of us have to go buy it. And how do we do that, Doctor?
Well, it's doing very well on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and across bookstores all across the country.
Okay, and we'll leave it at that. And did I ask you if you have a website of your own? Do you have a website?
DavidAgus.com. You can get the information we've been talking about.
Okay, AGUS. AGUS, thank you. Call me if you want the book. I see people calling in right now. Let me give it away. It's very much time here. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Oh, excellent. Suzanne Russo.
Okay. Did you get that right?
I got it. Yeah.
You got it. All right, it'll be waiting for you right here.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Bye.
you, Doctor. We'll be right back.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. More Gitmo detainees transferred to the Middle East.
The Gulf nation of Oman confirmed the transfer of the 10 detainees, stating that they will be held for humanitarian reasons until they can go back to Yemen, their home country. The administration has not made the names public in an effort to avoid further controversy here at home and in the country receiving them, though a senior defense official with oversight of the detainees says the men are bad news with direct ties to the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, or both, and likely to return to the fight.
Fox's Catherine Herridge. The State Department says the U.S. expects to release the remainder of nearly 40 cleared prisoners by this summer. Oscar nominations are out, up for Best Picture.
The Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, Room, and Spotlight.
And investors in a buying mood on Wall Street after yesterday's sharp drop. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You know the story of Hansel and Gretel, where Hansel left breadcrumbs on the trail so they could find their way back home? That's what you do when you use public Wi-Fi, or shop online, or give out your social security number at your doctor's office or the bank.